Last time around, we discussed setting up continuous delivery for our sample React app. To recap, we set up a pipeline to build the application, run unit tests, and deployed it to the staging environment. Then we took care of the integration tests and, when they ran successfully, deployed the application to production upon manual approval of a specified user. The key attribute that made this flow a continuous delivery situation is the manual approval required to deploy the application to production. While this is a great setup, it's just a step away from the holy grail of automation in DevOps, continuous deployment. Let's discuss how continuous deployment differs from continuous delivery and how to reach this desired high level of automation in your project. First of all, let's explain one thing: the naming and abbreviations. As you have probably already noticed, both continuous delivery and continuous deployment can be abbreviated to CD. This doesn't really help the newcomers, considering the fact that the CI/CD abbreviation is used widely when talking about the DevOps culture. Hopefully, after finishing this course, you will be able to understand whether the content you come across is talking about continuous delivery or continuous deployment just by recognizing whether the process is fully automated or not. Remember, if the code needs a human touch to get to production, it must be continuous delivery. Now, why exactly is continuous deployment considered to be the holy grail of DevOps? Let's put it this way. With continuous deployment, the software gets into the hands of users even faster than it is the case with continuous delivery. The human element ends with merging the reviewed code into the codebase. From there, the pipelines take care of everything: testing, creating different environments, notifications, cleanups, deployment, everything is automatic. So whether it's new features, bug fixes, rolling out promos or campaigns, your customers and users get the latest and greatest version of your app without any delays that are naturally introduced when parts of the pipeline depend on human actions. The speed and agility are the reason why it is worth putting extra time into creating a competent continuous delivery setup. Especially in today's fast-paced market, where several apps or sites might offer the same functionality to the user. The one that works the smoothest and brings new features to the table the quickest is the most likely to prevail. Now, if you want to implement the continuous delivery approach in your project, there's a lot of coding for you to take care of. As everything that ends up on production depends solely on the automatic testing and validations, make sure to put sufficient amount of time and work into preparing the right testing suite that will ensure that the code that's merged to the main branch is truly production-worthy. Think of your test suite as the fire prevention system in a library. Such a system cannot fail at any point. If it does, the damage to the book catalog might be very severe. You want to implement it and be able to put your full trust in it. It must keep your app from catching fire. Make sure that nothing buggy is given to the end users. Achieving this level of automation and confidence will require different designs and approaches to your pipeline setups, so I won't be able to give you a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. But I can give you some pointers for setting up continuous deployment in Buddy. This should be enough to get you going and be a good foundation to build your solution on. To demonstrate this, I will turn to the Counter app again. I am going to create 3 separate pipelines that will come together and take care of the newly added code and take it all the way to production. This time around, I decided I'm going to deploy my app to Netlify, which is currently one of the most popular services. Netlify itself offers CI/CD capabilities, but I feel that Buddy, a dedicated CI/CD tool, gives me more control over the entire continuous deployment setup. Before we start working on the pipelines, let's set up Netlify for our use case. After creating an account, click New Site from Git on your dashboard. There you will have to authorize Netlify in your Git provider. Once you are done with that, select the repository you want to work with. In the next step, simply click Deploy Site at the bottom of the page. This applies the default settings, which hand the continuous deployment duties to Netlify. We are going to make sure to change that in a minute. At this point, Netlify deploys your app automatically. We are going to ignore that and go into the Site Settings tab. From there, select Continuous Deployment. Click Edit Settings and then choose Stop Builds. This tells Netlify that it shouldn't be concerned with building the app every time it detects changes to the master branch. We will leave this to the body setup. Click Save and scroll down to the Deploy Context section. In the Branch Deploys section, I am going to choose Let me add individual branches option and enter Staging in additional branches. This allows me to use the Netlify contexts to deploy my service to a staging URL that is completely separate from the production URL. This is all when it comes to the Netlify setup. Let's get back to work in Body now. As I mentioned earlier, I am going to make all stages of my app's continuous deployment separate from each other by creating different pipelines to handle parts of the process. By now you are familiar with the 3 trigger modes available in Body. How do you think I should set my pipelines up in regards to these modes? As I want my pipelines to run one after another, but I want to stop the entire flow when one of the pipelines fails, I'm going to set the first pipeline that builds the app and runs unit tests to run on push. To ensure that the entire flow is completely automatic, I'm going to add a run next pipeline action at the end of the actions chain of the first 2 pipelines. If all previous actions run successfully, this action will trigger the next pipeline in order. Now let's get on to populating the pipelines with actions. Since we've done this a few times already, I'm not going to go into so much detail regarding the unit tests, integration tests, and notifications. Let me just bring your attention to the Netlify actions. When you add a Netlify action for the first time, you have to authorize its integration between Body and Netlify by using your Netlify user and password. Similar to the Heroku integration from the previous lecture, the process will be automatic if you're already logged into Netlify in this session. Just click Authorize when the prompt shows up and you are ready to go. I'm going to use the Netlify action in 2 of my pipelines. The second pipeline is going to deploy the app to the staging environment, and the third one is going to deploy the app to production. To deploy to staging, I'm going to use Netlify deploy with the -- alias equals staging flag. In the second and third pipeline, I'm going to use the copy files from another pipeline action, which allows me to grab the build directory created in the first pipeline run and use it instead of running the build in other pipelines as well. In the final pipeline, deployment to Netlify will be handled by running Netlify deploy. This deploys the build static site from the build directory to the default environment, which is production. Now let's get this entire machine in motion. When I merge changes to the main branch, the first pipeline with unit tests run automatically, whereas the other 2 stay put. Then, when the first pipeline is done, the second pipeline builds and deploys the app to the staging environment and runs integration tests. Finally, when that pipeline is ready, the final pipeline kicks in and deploys the application to production. All of this happens without any human intervention. If anything went wrong along the way, Body would send out notifications via email and to the specified Slack channels.